Welcome to Force of Light Entertainment. I'm your host, Michelle, and with me, as always, is my co-host, my sister, Natalie.
Hello. And I I hope you had a wonderful Christmas.
Yes, yeah, we hope you had an awesome Christmas. We spent some of our Christmas seeing the movie we're going to be reviewing/discussing today, being Wonder Woman 1984.
Yes.
Yes, and for those of you listening on podcast or watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up while you're at it. Might as well, guys. It's free $99.
Free.
So, anyways, today we are going to be discussing Wonder Woman 1984, the big blockbuster that is out in theaters and on HBO Max.
And I just want to applaud them for putting it in theaters.
Yes, we went and saw it Christmas Day in theaters with our family, and it was the most normal I think my life has felt in a long time. So
True that.
I enjoyed that aspect of it. And many of you guys, many places don't have theaters and watch it on HBO Max.
Also a great option.
Yes, it was a good option for Christmas and for the holiday. Well, guys, this is how we are going to do our review. We will give you our initial thoughts, tell you what we liked, what we maybe didn't like or thought could be improved, and then wrap it up with our rating for this movie.
And as you know, we have a hoot system.
Yes, we rate in hoots.
You know, a hoot and
Five,
a half.
5 hoots, yes.
How many hoots will it get?
Yes, shout out to our Canadian friend Charles
Yes.
for our hoot system and ratings.
That's where it was born.
Yes, so join the conversation and let's talk Wonder Woman 1984. All right, so initial thoughts. So I will say this, my initial thoughts with this were that, let's see, something is popping up. My initial thoughts.
We're a one-take wonder around here.
Well, something popped up on my screen. But anyways, our initial thoughts, or my initial thoughts, is I knew I liked the movie when I left, and there was so much I genuinely enjoyed, but it was a movie I had to kind of sit on because so much happens. It's like your brain had to process.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's like your brain had to process what all you just saw. And so I had the feeling, I still have this feeling, overall, I enjoyed the first one. I think it overall is a better movie.
More solid movie.
Yeah, all just streamlined all the way through. But I do, after I watched it and I thought about it, it was one of those, the more I had time to kind of digest it, the more I enjoyed it. And then I went and saw it the next day again, and I really enjoyed it. And some of the issues I had with it were lessened to me on the second viewing. I mean, they're still there. You catch things that maybe you didn't catch the first time that kind of help explain the plot a little better to me. So that was kind of my initial thoughts. Natalie, what were your initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts were it was a bunch of fun. I liked the 80s cheesiness.
Yes.
I think it worked, for being set in 1984. Some of that, I think it was kind of, paying homage to the time, the setting.
And I think even to the original Wonder Woman with Linda Carter, which
True.
was kind of cheesy back in the day.
And, Michelle and I discussed this. A lot of superhero movies, if we're honest, there is an element of cheese.
Yes, and with all superhero movies, and I know some people, they just couldn't buy into this plot from the get-go, and that's their feeling. All superhero movies ask the audience to buy into fantasy.
Right.
So it's just, do you buy into it? Like, can you buy into it? Like, I can say for me, so many people who love Aquaman, there was a point I couldn't buy into it anymore. Like, It was just so much fantasy
we're in agreement on
that I couldn't get into it. And it was pretty early on in the movie. I was like, this isn't quite for me. So
that was one of those movies that got to the point I didn't care to try and buy into it anymore.
So that I think is the case for some people with this movie.
Right.
It's just for me, I love this character so much and this world that they built so much that I was willing to buy into it, to some of, the ridiculous stuff that you have to buy into with a comic book movie.
Right. And so these are just initial thoughts.
Yeah.
We'll get into specifically, our likes and our dislikes of this movie. Get your water ready, Shelley.
And
we're diving in.
And I will say, for me, there are many more likes than there are dislikes. Now, the dislikes are there that we'll discuss and say what's there. But again, I like the movie even better my second time, and I can see this being a movie like that has rewatchability that I'll just really like it even as it goes on. So I will say that with initial thoughts. So now we'll join in. That's our initial thoughts. And I will say this too. I think too, this movie Where the first movie was more Diana, this warrior. This movie is more Diana, this like keeper of peace, almost like a Jedi. If you get what I'm saying, like it's like she's not in the fighting. She's not even trying to harm people, really. She's trying, if you notice that,
Yes.
it's a very passive style, which people may or may not like.
I do appreciate that.
Yes.
I mean, why really hurt people when you don't need to?
Oh, well, and when she knows, like, say in the White House, they're not bad.
Yeah,
Like,
and I like that she made that point even, like it's not their
Yes.
fault.
yes. So that's kind of I would say kind of two differences. And overall arching, before we get into things we like, I will say where the first one is about love and hope, this one is all about truth. And they set that
Yes.
up in the intro scene. So now we'll move into what we like. And what we like, well, we can even start. The first time I watched the movie, I really enjoyed the opening scene, but it took hours later till it hit me what was the
Like
purpose.
the connection.
Yes. And then once I got it, and I enjoyed the opening scene more the second time because I understood why it was there and the fact that it does actually have a purpose for the movie.
Right, right.
Because it sets up that theme that this movie's going to get at about how all that matters is the truth. Like you can't cheat your way to things.
Exactly.
But what is true? And Diana will deal with that the rest of this movie. And
Right.
let's face it was just nice to see that beautiful world they built with the mascara and then with Robin Wright's character.
Yeah, to see her back was cool.
Yes, and even though little Diana, I was kind of like, I mean, I thought she showed initiative when she got knocked off that horse, and
She did.
She
You
found
got
a way-
point there.
she showed initiative, but I also saw why the aunt was like, no, like you cheated, like you,
Yeah.
like it was
this
lesson
isn't rightfully yours.
yes, like you will be able to win it one day outright.
But do it the right way.
Yes,
With truth.
with truth, and that's where again it sets up this theme of truth. And so I actually enjoyed the intro and her mom hugging her as a little girl. It was a sweet intro and just a cool
And just
scene.
sweet, like, this world is not quite ready for what you will do or what you will be, and someday everything will be different. It
Yes.
was just sweet words of reassurance to Diana.
It was. And I will say, too, I think another subtle kind of message in that opening scene is little Diana keeps looking back. And it's her looking back, kind of comparing the others, is what causes her to get knocked off her horse. And I think there's something
True.
for us there in life. Like, just look ahead. Like, don't.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes, like, don't look back. Just, like, keep moving forward. And, like, stay in your lane. Like, focus on what you're doing and move forward in that regard.
As I was driving on a very curvy road one day, and I heard, "Look neither to the left nor the right. Keep your eyes straight on the path." So
Yeah,
there
just-
we go.
just-
Little life lesson for us.
Just look straight ahead. It's kind of that life lesson. So anyways, as we move into what we like, I do actually like the opening scene. And again, it took hours later for me to fully connect. Oh, that's what it was there for. That was the purpose. But anyways, for things I like, and actually this would go down under what I absolutely love, is just the character of Wonder Woman, Diana Prince, played by Gal Gadot.
And I said this in our original, Wonder Woman video podcast we did. I don't think anybody could play.
No.
I don't think anybody could play Wonder Woman like Gal Gadot.
Like,
I just really think she nails it. Her grace, her beauty, her accent is adorable and sexy at the same time. I mean,
Yeah.
it all works for me. I love it.
Yes, and it's like she continues to be Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot together have created this female character that I think is one of the best, most like well fleshed out female characters that we've got in a while, honestly.
Yes.
Like as far as a star. And this may sound random to some of you, but there's someone that she actually reminds me of as far as her character, and that was my hero growing up, being a 90s kid, and that was Gina Davis's character in A League of Their Own.
Oh,
Patty.
yeah.
Is her name Patty? No.
Yeah, what is
Is
it
it-
in that movie?
I just
Tell us in the comments.
Oh my gosh. Is it Dottie?
Dottie.
Dottie, yeah.
There you go.
I just went blank. But do you know what I'm saying?
One of those good old school names of the time period.
But I think in both those characters, you see this beautiful person who's able to do, who's very graceful.
So capable.
So capable of doing things that maybe women don't always do, but then also is so womanly. And
and gracious and doesn't really have a big head and
No.
still looks out for the little person.
Yes, and I think that is so refreshing in this character yet again in the second.
Like true confidence.
Yes, like I just feel like with Wonder Woman, she truly, so many women can relate to her because she's so womanly. That's just the only word I can use. Like she's not, where some characters like again to bring up like Sarah Connor, incredible character. But only X amount of women are going
to relate to her.
Are going to truly be like Sarah Connor,
right.
like a little nutty in the head and going to shoot someone in the face. So I mean, I just feel like again Wonder Woman that
there's a line from that our brother.
Yeah, it's just she's
someone to quote.
She's
it's
someone
gonna be really hot if that one.
Yeah, but she's just someone that you can really relate to. And again, Gal Gadot is just so gorgeous and in this whole movie. I mean, she's just absolutely stunning.
We're starting to be famous for just
for saying how we feel about people's looks.
Our rants about beautiful women.
Yeah, but really, we stick to women more. I feel like we're just comfortable to do that. I guess
we're both straight, by the way.
Yes,
but
but you appreciate their beauty. It's like a work of art.
Since I've been a kid, I love beautiful things. I love to look at beautiful things, and Gal Gadot, she makes my heart smile. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
when I'm watching her, she's just so beautiful. And I think it's a beauty almost like, and I would imagine even her as a person, like it's something, yes, she's physically beautiful, but the character of Wonder Woman, it's a beauty that comes from the inside out. It radiates out of her as well.
Yes.
True beauty.
Yes, like she's fantastic.
I mean, her smile, I could write a song about.
I mean, it lights up the room. And then even too, like again, I really enjoyed the world that was built, being back in this bright 80s environment.
I loved the beginning, just all the 80s vibes and stuff. You know, I think the 80s, they've been hot for a while now.
They have.
And so it was a great time period to do the movie in.
Yes, and just so that's what I will say, and maybe for better or worse, this movie, the tone of this movie is so stark different from the first one.
Yes.
Which I feel like I appreciate that they went so different and did a risk. I could almost see maybe the third and final one, as long as that is the final one, taking more of a little bit somewhere in the middle of these two tones probably.
Right.
But they did shift it, and I appreciate that. But
well, and let me just say on that too, you know, and I've heard other people say this, I appreciate that DC in general seems to be moving in the direction of they kind of give it to a director.
Yeah.
And they allow them to take risks. And, you know, sometimes it pays off and sometimes maybe it doesn't as much. But it's like, it's just cool that they allow them that freedom to have a vision and execute it.
Yes, and I mean one thing, and we're DC fans, we just are, I think, growing up, but
it's not so much a formula.
Yes.
They're really getting away from that. It's just like you have the standalone movie, you know, do what you want with it. You know, and I think sometimes that can be great. Like Joker was one of my favorite movies of 2019, and you know that was very much a standalone creative vision, and I thought it was amazing. So
yes, and this movie very much does kind of stand alone, and kind of in a way retcon some of the things they established in Batman versus Superman. Where in there, it's kind of like Diana just had been in hiding, which I just don't buy that Diana would do that. That's not Diana. Like Diana, she can't not help people. Like that's who she is. So I'm glad they did that. But it did.
I will say something I could relate to. We kind of learned she's an introvert, or like she doesn't really get out a lot, you know. But she loves people and she loves to help people.
Yes, and that's what too. Well, before we get into kind of those scenes, her clothes. I want to go shopping in Diana Prince's closet, and I just want to buy all of them. Like the dress, like everything she wore in this just was awesome and beautiful and like timeless. Even though it was 80s, it was timeless 80s.
That's what I told Michelle, and here we are being girly girls talking about the fashion, but I mean, we can't help it.
I will say this movie's girly.
It is.
And that's where that's where I could see maybe some men not liking it as much because it is truly a girly movie.
But yes, the costume, whoever was in charge of costume design, I mean, those clothes, like Michelle said, that's what we had talked about. Most of that you could wear today. It truly is timeless, just beautiful clothing.
Yeah.
So excellent job.
Yes, excellent job. So, I mean, I just can't speak enough about how much I love this character. And for me, the flaws that are in this movie, how much I love the character of Diana Prince / Wonder Woman, it's able to overcome the flaws for me personally.
That makes sense.
Because I just enjoy
invested in her.
I enjoy her. And this movie is character driven enough that to me it's able to overcome the flaws.
Yes, yeah.
For me. I mean, it won't be for some people, but again, that's because I love this character that much. And so we'll kind of move into. Well, actually, I'll start. I've got him. Actually, this goes in the good and bad, and that is Barbara Minerva, played by Kristen Wiig. And the reason I'd say maybe the bad is my question is, there's so much going on in this movie. Should they maybe have picked only have Cheetah and or only have Maxwell Lord?
Right.
That's kind of something, I don't know, and you guys let us know below if you thought it would have been better had they picked one of the two and just had one villain.
She didn't feel totally fleshed out to me.
Yes. Well, and here's the thing. She felt fleshed out enough until the moment she becomes Cheetah, and then you're like, whoa, there was a jump there.
Yeah.
Because until then, I feel like her arc is fine.
Right. Kind of that, and that was kind of a classic, like people point out, like Riddler, like, the classic disgruntled employee that's overlooked and not appreciated.
I will push back against that, though.
Okay.
Because Riddler gets dissed by Wayne Enterprise.
True.
And it makes him have a vendetta against Wayne and ultimately gets Batman.
Which is a pretty silly reason to become totally evil.
Which I will say this.
We've all been dissed.
With Barbara, it's actually the opposite. Throughout this entire movie, she is working very hard to please Diana. Like she's digging. She likes Diana. It just comes there's because this movie deals with greed.
And Diana has been kind to her.
Yes, and this movie deals with greed, and that's where at the end she's like, no, you can't take this away from me, Diana. So that's where the fighting does come in.
Yeah,
because
that's where you see the shift.
Yes, and she really doesn't have a vendetta against Wonder Woman.
/ there's definitely some jealousy there. But
by the end.
And resentment.
And I don't feel like I feel like that's because she's losing herself. Because in the beginning, I don't think that was there. She truly, it was like, wow, this beautiful woman like took time to talk to me. Yeah. She was the only one who was willing.
It almost kind of breaks your heart a little bit when she says to her, thank you for talking to me. And, and Kristen Wiig, one thing I'll give her, she's really great at being awkward.
Yes.
And she does that very well with the beginning of this character, the way she starts out. But you also see, of Barbara's character arc, they intentionally show you her walking through the park after dinner. She gives her still warm
she's
dinner
a good
to
person.
A homeless guy. She's a kind person. Like, yes, maybe she's not the smoothest or has the social graces, but it's like she's a kind person, and so that kind of plays into it later what she loses.
Yes, and that's why I say, so my only question with my say it could go in the dislike is, should I feel like they make a jump from when we see her at the White House to when she's fully Cheetah a little fast without the audience fully getting how, I know I can explain how, but truly seeing it, I feel like. So that's the only thing.
And she kind of becomes Maxwell Lord's little henchman.
She does towards the end.
And I'm like, is that her purpose? Not that there's not a purpose for her.
But I think they wanted a comic book level fight.
They wanted a cat fight.
Yeah, they did. But I will say this, I actually think Kristen Wiig did a really good job. And that's why one of my, should they have maybe saved her for a different movie if you have Maxwell in this? That's my only thing. I think Kristen Wiig did a very good job.
Yes.
And I actually really, and her daughter Isabella said this too, you actually like Barbara throughout this whole movie until that final kind of
stretch of the movie.
Yeah. Because like you understand Barbara. Like, she is a good, kind-hearted person. As Diana calls out to her at the end, is like, but what cost? You've lost your warmth, your humanity.
Your
humanity. And
Well, and you see the shift fairly early on once her wishes thing. It's like she becomes popular all of a sudden, and the people, like, you know, kind of a callback to the guy at the beginning that just walks past her, like, hey, can you help me with this? And he just ignores her and walks on, which, jerk.
Yeah.
But, you know, and he's like trying to talk to her, and she just basically blows him off, you know, and she's too busy for him and stuff. So it's like she's losing, you know, everything that kind of, the good parts about her that made her her.
Yeah. Well, and too, I want to take you back because I know people, and we'll get into the action. I actually do like the action. So after the mall scene, there's really no big action set.
Oh, and can we just, on the mall scene?
Well, we're going to get into it.
Okay.
But there's really no action set from the mall scene until you get to the desert. So there's about 45, 50 minutes of setup because, again, there's a lot to establish of characters. And
I can understand why some people wouldn't be crazy about that.
Yes, and the second time
it doesn't bother me, but
the second time it did not bother me at all. If you want action nonstop, there's plenty of Marvel movies. Go watch one of those. Like this is more, again, it's more character driven. It just is. And anyways, I as a female really enjoyed Barbara and Diana's lunch, and I will say this: I feel like they represent two types of people. Like when she says, have you been in love? And Diana says, yes, a long time ago. And here's my point. And then Barbara says, many times, all the time. It's like there's two types of people. There's these people, their divorce isn't finalized and they've moved on to the next person.
Yes.
Or there's I'm more in a Diana, like my heart wouldn't be able to shift so quickly. Like,
or you've got me who's been single 12 years.
Well, it's just kind of like, but my point is, you don't fall in love all the time.
Right.
Like, Diana is more a type, like, she loves hard. Like, she loves passionately. And it would be hard for her to ever move on, really.
Yeah.
Like, that's just where there's the other type that they dump that person, they're in a relationship the next day.
Right.
So I just feel like...
I think given, 12 years is a lot, but Diana's got me really beat.
Diana's been 60 years.
It's been like 60, girl.
Yeah.
Like,
Diana's
it's okay to move on.
But I think that
I mean, me too. But
I think the thing is, it's the type of woman that it takes a Steve Trevor to get her attention, and there aren't many Steve Trevors.
Well, and I think that's the point you're pointing out too.
Yes.
The difference between Barbara, like there are women, they just want somebody, and for males too.
Yeah, definitely.
They just want to be with somebody, and then there are some of us, it's like, no, I'm not going to settle. Like, I want that special
person.
That special someone in my life that complements my life. And so, yeah, that there are kind of two kind of people in that way.
Yes. And so anyway, so another thing that of course then works for me is, and I actually enjoyed, okay, she takes it too far, but when she's becoming Cheetah, or no, that's what's so cool. She wishes to become like Diana. And that's why I love this line in the White House when she says, when I wish for you, I didn't know it would come with so many surprises, because she doesn't know she's Wonder Woman.
Right.
So she begins to get her power. And the scene where that guy who harassed her, like she keeps kicking him, okay, she takes it too far, but you also kind of understand.
You kind of feel that as
like,
a woman.
You kind of are like, I kind of get it. Like, maybe one kick too many, but like, I also kind of understand.
Like, if you had the power to just like put them in their place.
Like, so you kind of get that. But anyway, so moving in, things that work for me, and maybe things that don't work for people, is so they really go full comic book. There's a god who has the stone, you can make a wish, and you get the wish, but it takes something in return. And so if you either buy into that, or you're lost from the get-go. Like, you either just accept that, or you're going to struggle.
And I'll say, it's a lot to swallow. It's a lot... kind of not explained in my opinion, but you either kind of go with it or you don't, like Michelle said.
Yes. And so anyway, some people may struggle with the way Steve returns. I was just so happy to have Chris Pine and Steve back. I really didn't care. I'm one of those.
And I heard someone say, like, well, does that guy have a wife? Like, do they think it's like, I think clearly from his bachelor pad, I don't think the guy is like with anybody. I don't think he has kids. Like,
and again, it's kind of like, we've done things like this before. Like, meet Joe Black. He gets that guy's body. The guy comes back at the very end. Right. Like, it's been done. It happens. You either accept it or you don't. Yeah. Again, you either buy into it or you don't. But I was just happy to have Steve back. And the moments with Steve and Diana, this movie, it is kind of a romance. Like, it truly is.
It's definitely a romance.
Like, and again, this movie's girly. It's a romance, and the Steve and Diana romance is like, there's some just beautiful scenes between the two of them.
Yes.
And their chemistry together is both fun, it's romantic, like, it's all of these things at one. And even though Chris Pine, Steve Trevor, you could say is maybe a little bit one-dimensional of a character, so's Han Solo, who's my favorite character of all time. Like, Steve's just a fantastic character. Like, Chris Pine just brings something to this role that's fantastic, and you love them together.
Well, he's a great guy. I mean, he's kind of that classic, I mean, truly classic, because he's like from the 20s and 30s. But
I think before the 30s.
Yeah, I think it was like 1918 or something, maybe in the first one. So yeah, and he brings a lot of comedy to this role, and just how fun that their roles are reversed. So she was kind of a fish out of water in the first one, and this one she's the confident one that knows the world around them, and he's, it's not only funny and cute, it's like precious at times.
It
like
is.
Him like just the planes and the advancement, like just to watch him be in awe of the world around him.
Well, and what makes it special is it's kind of like he's in awe of what, if you think about his sacrifice preserved.
Yeah,
it made a way
true.
for.
Yeah,
like his sacrifice in World War I made a way for this fantastic technology world that Diana and he now find themselves in.
Right.
So it's very touching to see just like he's like a kid. Like,
yeah.
Wow. Where Diana is more naive in the first one.
And it's just, and then you can tell she loves just like watching
yes.
and be amazed by everything. Oh, let me show you this.
Yes.
It's going to blow your mind.
Yes, where she's more naive in the first one, Steve's just more in awe. And like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, look at the advancements that have been made. Like,
right.
Wow. And I mean, talk about tons of technology advancements from the time Steve was alive.
From 1918 to 1984.
Yes. And I mean, just so many fantastic scenes with him. And one of the ones that I thought was great, I guess in the comics, that Diana had this invisible jet. And that whole scene, now you do have to dispense, you're like, okay, so that the fact how they get the jet and the fact would he struggle knowing how to fly one that's so much more advanced.
Yeah.
You have to let that go. Again,
just let it. It's one of those things in movies, just don't think about it too much.
Don't think too deeply into it. But the scene,
because Steve's the man.
Yeah. He figured it out. But anyways, that scene is just so good. And because
talk about romantic.
Yes, but before that, because we don't cuss, I can't say it. But Steve has a line
that genuinely cracked me up.
Our whole row just cracked up.
It was so organic.
It was so organic. It just felt like an old married couple. But it's hysterical.
Well, Diana?
Yeah. It was just hysterical. Like, cracked me up both times I've seen it. And then the whole scene's funny. When she's like, I tried to learn how to make things invisible from my father, Zeus.
I've only done it once in 50 years, and it was a coffee cup.
And he said, well, what happened? She said, I lost it. And anyways, but it's so cool when she touches it and it becomes invisible and you see it shimmering through the sky.
Yes.
And then talk about a romantic scene of them driving through the fireworks because it's the 4th of July. I mean, that scene is just visually stunning and so romantic. And my gosh, this is another positive. Hans Zimmer's score, the romantic score he has, well, the whole score is fantastic.
Yes.
But the music played during that scene and the scenes with Steve is so beautiful.
So fitting.
It's so fitting. But a Hans Zimmer score in general, since we're there and I'm ADD, we'll just go there.
Hang with us.
This is probably my favorite score since like John Williams, The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Like from start to finish, the score is fantastic.
I have to say, my favorite is her fighting scenes. Like,
yeah,
like
her
dynamite.
Her theme, like Hans Zimmer really amped it up, and I mean it's just fantastic. But so kind of moving in, so that's kind of with that, and then with Maxwell Lord. Again, it could be positive and negative because should he just have been the only villain in this? Possibly. Because I do actually, Pedro Pascal, he genuinely makes me laugh throughout this movie. Like the way, like, come on. Like his motions. And even
he plays it very comically from the beginning, and I enjoy it. You know, like what's his line? He says on the TV, and he loves doing it for people. You know, like
he's like, life is good, but it could be better.
But it could be better.
Yeah, like he's just pretty funny. And I enjoy, he's kind of amused with Diana. Like he's like say in the desert scene, he's like, like he's just so intrigued by Diana's abilities in a way. So he did a great job for that. It's not like, I think he did it comedic, but it's not like so over the top. It's over top. It fits in the movie. It fits.
Well, he definitely adds that cheesy 80s villain vibe, especially as it progresses.
Like a shyster type guy.
But I will say, I think he did a good job with his role. You know,
and he made her cry at the end. So.
That scene with the son, man, I'm a sucker for kid stuff. It's just, you know, the little boy just wanted his dad. Like, that's what he wanted. He didn't want all this other stuff. And then him accepting, like, wow, like, you already love me. Like, I don't have, you know, that is the case with little kids. Like, I don't have to prove myself, like, and have all the success. Like, you just love me the way I am. You know, that's the beauty of your child. So it's
yes, and I will say,
touching.
Too, again, I feel Diana is one of the best female characters we've had in many years. And she's as graceful and lovely as she is, she's flawed. She fails. She learns things. And I love that they allowed, since she gets Steve back, her powers begin to diminish because, again, it takes something once it gives something.
Yes.
It's like they call it the monkey's paw or something like that.
Right.
And so
it takes as much as it gives.
Yes. So you actually do begin to feel her vulnerability throughout this movie. Even though Diana
just get weaker and weaker, and we haven't seen that before.
Yes, because even when they go to Maxwell Lord's place, like she struggles to break the lock, and that's when you first begin to notice she's losing her powers. But I will say too, because I wanted to bring it, it's such a beautiful scene when Steve, and again he makes the sacrifice of this movie again.
Yeah,
like
truly.
She can't give him up. She's like, I won't give you up. Like, I give so much. I want this one thing. Like, can I just have this one thing?
Yeah, and I so felt for her.
You do.
You know?
And that's what I was going to say, too. They establish in the beginning, you so feel for Diana, like her loneliness.
Like, she has this great life, but she's alone at the end of the day. And even when they kind of set up at the restaurant at the beginning, is someone else coming? No, it's just me.
Yes, and I think, too, something she even says to Barbara in their talk, and this movie, it's a theme of this movie, like she says, you know, my life hasn't been what you think.
Yeah.
Like people, no matter how, I feel like that's something in this movie.
A theme.
No matter how great someone's life may be, there's still struggles, there's still pains, there's still things as humans we go through and we deal with. And I think that is a beautiful theme that kind of runs throughout this movie.
You know, once again, as far as a cheesy Instagram post, but that has some truth. You know, it says I've seen one that says everybody's fighting a battle you know nothing about.
Yes, and you see that.
I think that's humans. You know,
yes.
Like, I mean, some people kind of are in denial, but I think we're all fighting something inside of ourselves.
And you see that with Diana. So she does not want to give him up. And the scene where he's like, you know what you've got to do. And that their final moments is really touching and very, you know, just it's a beautiful moment. And I like that, like, it's so painful to her, she can't even look at him when she says goodbye.
Gosh, yeah.
I mean, it's just like, they really did a good job. Yes, they lean into the 80s
cheese.
cheese.
She had that kiss, and then she just like,
turned.
she had to just, like, depart. You know, like, I can't look at it anymore.
Yeah, like, it was that painful and that difficult for her.
Of a sacrifice.
And it was, and again, back to the truth. Steve says, you're not giving me up. I'm already gone. Like, so there is, like, this... I just thought that scene, they really played out the emotion, and it really worked for me.
And sometimes the truth has to be enough.
Yes.
You know, even if we don't love it, like, it has to be true. You know, truth is very important.
Yes, and again, that is the overall arching word of this movie, is the truth. Like, what is the truth? And Maxwell's
we have to level with ourselves sometimes.
Yes, we do. And so I just thought that scene worked. But then also... So the relationships, so now we'll move into the action of what worked for me. And the first time I watched the mall scene, I was a little thrown off by all the lassoing up and down. But
I loved it.
I loved it the second time. And that's what I was going to say. I actually think...
It was one of those cheesy action scenes. I love the 80s mall. The kids there, the way she does the little girl and the teddy bear,
she winks at her,
kind of. Don't tell anybody. And once again, that is when you have a female superhero, I love her interaction with kids throughout the movie. I just thought it was great. I loved the cheesy mall scene.
Well, and I was going to say, the second time it hit me, there's a reason I believe she's moving so much, because the first time, like, Diana, you're spending a lot of energy for no reason. And the second time it hit me, and that's why she takes it and takes out the cameras.
Yeah.
I think she's lassoing around so much because she wants to be not seen by as many people as possible.
Right.
Like, I know some people see her face clearly, but she still works in that
like
city.
The little girl, and which is probably why she says,
yes, like that. So I think that's why she's moving so fast. She doesn't want anyone to get like a really good glimpse of her. So it actually made sense. And I've heard some people say they don't like the lasso action. I love the use of the lasso in this movie. Like, I
want one of those.
It's so girly, even in the White House where she's just like doing that, with deflecting the bullets. And I saw actually Zack Snyder really seemed to like that, of course, who first directed her in Batman v Superman. But anyways, I just thought the action scenes were great. I really enjoyed. It is a little cheesy, but I enjoyed it in that that kind of 80s cheesy vibe, that opening scene. And then it was so welcoming when Hans Zimmer's score in the desert comes on, and like that whole set piece, that action piece in the desert, I thought was fantastic.
Yes, I did too.
Even little details of like the way the camera follows, like Steve kicks out. And again, Steve's so useful in this fight.
He is.
He's so smart and resourceful. And like when he kicks out the windshield and the camera follows him through the windshield. I thought they did an excellent job with that. And again, I just enjoyed, the White House scene. I love.
Yes.
Between her and Barbara. And again, she does not want to hurt these people, so she's deflecting with the lasso and even trying to help people not fall too hard.
Yeah.
And I feel like some people I've heard some people not like the lasso action. I feel like when we have a world that has so many superheroes, you need to distinguish them. And
they do tend to. Most superheroes have their trademark, whether it's the hammer
for Thor.
For Thor.
And here's what I was going to say.
Most of them have something.
I think if you look at DC and in their holy trinity of, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, Superman and Wonder Woman are very similar.
That's us. They're kind of the male-female versions of each other.
So I think it's good that they make, say, the lasso, and I feel like it's a nice way to distinguish Wonder Woman from Superman.
Right.
And we'll get to this, even the flying scene, I like she flies even a little different than Superman, because I just feel like it's good to distinguish the two.
Yeah.
So anyways, I love the lasso action, and I really loved. I don't know if it's my favorite. That White House scene is pretty dang good.
It is good.
I thoroughly loved the White House action
what a
scene.
cool backdrop for a fight.
Yes.
In the White House.
Yeah. It's just so cool. And Cheetah, that's where I actually do enjoy Cheetah being in the movie, because I really loved her
altercation.
Yes, that altercation, and her now having the skill set. And again, she basically beats Diana up.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Diana loses.
Right.
And again, a good sign of a good character. Nothing's just handed to Diana. Like, she fights for her.
Yeah.
And that is where she says, what is this costing you? Like,
yes.
What are you giving up?
Yeah.
And that type of thing. So I love the action. And I enjoy even the end fight is pretty good between her and Cheetah. And
I will say, though, as a lover of small cats and big cats alike, that was not a pretty kitty.
That was not a pretty kitty. And it's like, again, how did she become that? Like, what wish was that? Talk about that. That's kind of like in Bedazzled, where you make a wish and the wish sucks and how it's granted.
I get she wanted to be an apex predator.
Yes, as she says.
That's what she wanted, or something the world's never seen.
And the world's never seen that.
Never seen that. But actual lions and tigers are much prettier.
I will say this. I love, again, just the gracefulness of Diana when she's trying to plead with Cheetah, to basically, like Barbara, no, this is not the way.
I renounced my wish, and you need to too. Like,
yes.
you're wasting precious time.
Come
on, just do it.
Do it. And when she won't, and she knows she's gonna electrocute her, she's like, "Then I'm so sorry." and it's not like she doesn't mean it. It's very heartfelt. Like Diana doesn't want to ever kill anyone.
And that's kind of part of, like, hopefully I'll get this out right, but it's like she is kind of part God, and almost. But that is kind of godlike. Like, I love you. Like, I don't ever want to hurt you. Like, or, some bad stuff to you, but you have free will. It's your choice.
And she wanted to be that ugly cat thing. So, but we'll see. It works out for her in the end. And the final scene, and we'll get to that in a minute, because it can be a plus and a minus. I will say, I caught it more the second time, which, again, we'll get into kind of the negatives. It is because people are kind of confused, because obviously so many people get a wish by the end of it, and people are like, well, not that many people would renounce their wish. But the kicker is when Maxwell, when he renounces his wish, all the wishes are renounced. Like, it takes them all out of play, since he is the wishing well thing.
But then I think it goes through and individually, even the man that had wished the woman died, like, he's like, I renounce my wish. Or it's like, it did seem like individuals were also saying, I renounce my wish.
Yeah, and I mean, many did, but I don't think they all had to. I think once Maxwell did it, it was just kind of done to begin with.
So...
And I will say, Gal Gadot looked gorgeous, even crying and pleading with Maxwell. I mean,
you've got pretty criers and ugly criers, and she's a pretty crier.
Yeah, she's a pretty crier. And the gold armor was cool that they had set up.
I liked that. I know there was some criticism, I think, even from the trailer back then.
I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it too. I mean, I thought it was really cool. And when she strips the wings and just like a boss comes forward.
I thought it was cool. So, Natalie, is there anything else that you really liked before we move into our dislikes?
Okay.
I think we've covered most things.
Covered it. Yeah. That's what I was kind of going to move on to the dislikes.
Yes. So dislikes, and that's what I feel like we've kind of already hit at. Is this movie too crowded? Should they have picked one villain and just let that one villain be the villain? And that's up for debate.
No, I can't really answer that. I just think there was a little too much going on, in my opinion. And that's just my opinion. There's a little too much going on in this movie. It doesn't mean I don't really like parts, that I don't like it overall and find it enjoyable to watch. As far as a 13-year-old opinion, my daughter really enjoyed it. She's seen it twice.
And I keep it in the DC universe. I will say that's a common complaint that people had with, say, The Dark Knight Rises. People said there's too much going on in that final Batman movie with Christian Bale.
And yet I found that easier to follow.
Yeah, well, okay. So there we go into, there were things here, and this is my negative. There were things here that were not clear enough on first viewing. I caught them the second viewing, but I feel like in a movie, sometimes simple is better. And okay, within simplicity of a plot, you can have complexity.
And we don't mean dumb it down.
No,
that's not what we're saying.
What I'm saying is you keep...
But this was just maybe a little too much.
Yes. We're saying it needs to be streamlined to where people follow it on first viewing. So I feel like that would be a negative, that there were things I had to think about. And then, not that thinking's a bad thing. That's not what I'm saying. But
I like to think about a movie after.
And it made me think. There were great. That's another good. I love the themes of this movie. There's many themes that I really enjoy. But what I'm saying is when you're struggling to piece certain things together from the plot, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There needs to be simplicity through in the plot.
Because what I'm saying too, in a nutshell, yes, there are going to be things in any type of fantasy genre, superhero I think would fall into that of course it's like, it doesn't all have to make sense. Like, it just really doesn't.
Yeah,
if it does for you, that's not going to be your thing.
Yeah, like him flying the jet. I don't really care. It was a pretty scene. I move on.
But I feel like this, it crosses the line at times to where there's too much to buy. Like, in this movie. And that would be like a critique I would have.
Yes. So that would be my critiques of it, is at time the plot need to be a little more streamlined. And does that mean you remove one of the villains, possibly? Because this movie's long. I mean, it's 2.5 hours to get everything in.
And that's another thing. If I was, like, I think it should have been, like you said, streamlined a little more and maybe shave off 20 to 30 minutes at least.
Yeah, well, and then you probably do need to remove a character, probably, I would say. Which I would say the reason they wanted Cheetah was to have that classic comic book fight. it would be probably the reason. And I did enjoy it. And that's what's hard. I
right,
enjoyed both characters.
She wasn't going to fight Pedro Pascal characters because he didn't have those like superpowers.
Yeah, it would have been her fighting like if he had like a bunch of men or something around.
Yeah,
him. That would have been more of that.
But not someone on her level. You know,
yes. So that would be my critiques or maybe dislikes of this movie. But again, the second time I saw it, I didn't mind it as much. Like, I caught more things. But again, I feel like people, the first time through, should catch the full plot. Or like, it should be streamlined enough that there's no questions about it.
And I think that this movie, it was kind of a tough mix because while it was trying to be this sort of lighthearted super movie at times, it was also trying to, like, tie in these deep, like, thinking type I don't know, values or something like that. That actually
doesn't bother me.
Movie. Yeah, it was just, I don't know, it could have been done a little smoother, I think, you know, overall.
Yeah.
And I would definitely say I think the theme of this movie is, it's really be careful what you wish for, you know, the old saying.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean,
very literally in this case.
Well, and to like we said, like truth. and not being greedy. Like as Pedro Pascal, Maxwell's Lord, figures out at the end, he sees when the lasso of truth is on him. You know, she wraps his leg with the lasso of truth. And as they had already established in this movie, the lasso of truth can also make you see truth. And it's at that point he sees what is important to him. And what is truly most important that he had already begun to forget because of his greed is his son.
Right.
So that is a theme. And that, you know, I think it's good themes.
It is. Because at the end of the day, kids... they're the most important. So I think that's what made me emotional.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that's both of kind of our critiques of this movie. But overall for me, I really enjoyed this movie despite the flaws. Like kind of adore aspects of it, truly. And I don't know if I enjoy comics more than Natalie, so I probably there's things about it I do you know, probably enjoy even more probably than you, just because I enjoy comics more than you for the most part.
Right, but I still, like I said, overall, I think this movie is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd regret seeing it.
No, and even like your daughter, Isabella, so she's 13, for those, like, she said that she thinks this movie's more fun than the first one, and she may like it better.
I can see that from her age group.
I can too. So I definitely, again, is it perfect? No, there are flaws, but because I love the character of Diana, because I love, you know, her... there's so much of this movie I adore that it overcomes the flaws for me personally. Yeah. And I just really enjoyed it. And I still, and people would be like, you know, probably gag. I still enjoyed this movie more than a lot of comic book movies. Like, it's still pretty high up in my comic book
I would agree with that.
Rating.
Like, because like she said, she is a much bigger comic book movie fan than I am. So yes. And so looking at it through my lens as someone that's not as big a fan of comic book movies traditionally, yes, I would say this was more fun for me to watch.
Yes, and I also, again, I can see, again, it is so girly. I could see some men maybe not liking it as much because the first one, although she's very womanly, there's still more of a
lot of man action.
Yeah, a lot of manliness as far as World War I and type stuff, and it's more, you know, grim and more serious and
grittier,
war.
Yeah.
So I could see that possibly. But I enjoyed the movie. And again, I adore the character of Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot did a fantastic job.
She did.
We already know that Patty Jenkins and Gal are signed back on for Wonder Woman 3, which I can only assume will be in present day. I think that makes the most sense to do one in present day.
And I'll be very excited to see kind of what direction that movie takes.
Yes, I bet it will be different. And
because this one was very different than the first one.
Yes, I would be shocked if it leans into the cheesiness of this one. I bet it'll be a little more grounded, more like the first one, but maybe not so dark and grim either. I don't know if it's Wonder Woman 2020, it may be grim. but
true that.
But no, I'm just kidding. But so we'll see. So Natalie, how many hoots? We rate in 5 hoots. How many hoots does Wonder Woman 1984 get from you?
I'm gonna give it 3 3/4 hoots.
Okay. I'm going to give it, on my second viewing, I enjoyed it so much I would give it 4.5 hoots. But I'll stick to my guns of what I felt the first time watching it, and that was 4. So I gave it 4 out of 5 hoots. So I really enjoyed this movie. Again, I think the first one is overall a better movie. But I will say this movie, as much as I enjoy the action, there is no scene like the no man's land scene from the first one.
I mean, that scene was just iconic.
And it's
like I said, we watched it with our parents Christmas Eve, and it literally gives me like goosebumps.
It's one of the few scenes that makes me emotional every time. So, and in fairness to this movie, I don't know how you top that scene.
That's hard.
From the moment she gets on that ladder to the moment she knocks out that sniper, that is probably the best 15 minutes of any comic book in any movie. Like, I love it.
How she basically restored hope to the people in that moment. I mean, it was just a big moment.
It was. And again, at the end of the day, Diana in this one is the symbol of hope and love and truth, as this one is. And I really love Wonder Woman, and I can't wait to see what Gal and Patty do with Wonder Woman 3.
Absolutely.
So you guys let us know in the comments below, what did you guys think of Wonder Woman? How many hoots do you guys give it? Do you give it 1 hoot? Do you give it 5 hoots? How many hoots do you give it?
Or do you give it 3 3/4 like me? I'm getting very technical.
I don't know if 3 3/4 is really in our system, but we'll let her get away with it. But yeah, that's kind of it for our Wonder Woman 1984 discussion. It is playing in theaters for those of you who have theaters that are open. And it also is available on HBO Max. So if you have it not, and you still want to see it after our spoiler discussion, I hope that you guys check it out. And because it is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's worth watching.
Yeah, it's definitely worth watching. And it's always, to me, it's worth, it doesn't matter what other people think of a movie. Did
you enjoy it or not? Did it make you smile or not?
Were you entertained? That's the thing. So I always say,
we don't all have to be Roger Ebert.
Yes. So I always say, watch something for yourself and form your own opinion, and just stick to it.
Right.
It's a movie. It's an opinion. It doesn't really matter. So that is it for this discussion.
It's your truth at the end of the day.
Yeah. So thank you for tuning in to this episode of Force of Light Entertainment. And for those of you on YouTube, I will link for kind of recommended video our Wonder Woman discussion that we had. So check that out as well if you are new, and go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And
hit that bell if you want to be notified when we upload.
Yes, and you can find us where all places podcasts are. And you can find us at Force of Light Entertainment on Twitter and Instagram. So that is it for this episode. We will catch you guys next time, and we'll see you guys later.
So see you soon.
Yes. So bye, guys.
Bye.